So I recently got word that it is highly recommended that I don't leave the state because, baby, lockdowns are back. Take a look at this. The hideous sight we hope to never see again. Panic buyers across the U.S. empty shelves of toilet roll, food, and disinfectant as 40 states see record daily increase in cases and 20 states report all-time highs in deaths. Washington, shelves cleared out. Missouri, California, New York, Michigan, panic buying 2.0. So saith the Daily Mail. It's coming, man. They started rolling out the lockdowns, and it's been creeping up on us for the past couple of weeks or so. Been gradually getting worse. New York, New Jersey. I don't know if Pennsylvania can lock down because of the ruling that the lockdowns were unconstitutional, but that's not stopping Gretchen Whitmer, who also lost a court case. She's just going for it. We'll see how that plays out. But in the wake of all of this, people are rushing to the store and buying up everything they can, namely toilet paper for some reason. I hope you all learned your lesson from earlier this year, and I hope the first place you go to is the gun store. My first reaction was not to run to Walmart to buy toilet paper. It was to run to the local shop and pick up some ammunition because it's hard to come by. And as these lockdowns increase, you know what's going to happen? Look, I know there's going to be people saying, stop manifesting these things, Tim, just because you put it out there, man. Listen, you lock people up in little cubicles stacked on top of each other in places like New York City where the whole place smells like sour milk. People go nuts. Same thing is true for all of these big cities. They're in crammed, tight little spaces. And you tell them they can't go outside. They can't go to the bar. They can't blow off steam. They're going to snap. And so when we saw the George Floyd riots, I got to be honest. I think the core of the riots was about George Floyd. The next biggest component was just pent up rage against the machine. Isn't that funny? It's unfortunate, however, that many of these leftists are now raging on behalf of the machine, as it were, because they're cheering for the lockdowns. It's the craziest thing. What we are seeing with these lockdowns is one of the, if not the largest transfer of wealth from the lower class to the ultra rich. And I hear people say, so what? We have to lock down. We have no choice. People are dying. They are. COVID's a problem. It's got lingering health effects. It's kind of scary. I don't want to get it. I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to limit my exposure and all that, but we can keep our small businesses open with proper social distancing, right? I guess not. I guess these people just say, shut her down. Now here's what happens. Mom and pop shops close. Ownership is being disintegrated. Regular people who owned things will no longer own things because they can't pay their bills. They are being flattened. They talk about flattening the curve. Yeah, the economic curve. They talked about this great recovery. Well, now it's about to get a whole lot worse. We are going to be crushed under the weight of nationwide lockdowns. And the most people can muster up is running to the store to buy up toilet paper. I guess you need toilet paper, sure, whatever. Well, across the country, new lockdowns and restrictions are sweeping as COVID cases continue to rise. But let me show you the most important thing about all of this. And we'll look at some of these pictures. You can see toilet paper's gone. Look at this. Number of U.S. deaths per day has not spiked. Look at where it was early on. And now it's actually, there's a spike right here. It's a little spike. It's going up, and we're worried about that. And I can understand saying we need to take precautions to prevent this spike from skyrocketing. But take a look at cases. Number of new infections per day is higher than it's ever been, but the death rate is way, way, way down. To be fair and reasonable here, we've improved our therapeutics and we have better treatments. We now have a vaccine on the horizon. It makes sense that we've learned how to treat this better. I get it. But I got to say, I do not see lockdowns as the answer. The lockdowns are the last resort. That's what the World Health Organization said. They said it should be the last resort. Now, a lot of people have pushed it a little further, and maybe I should issue a clarification if I did in the past push a little hyperbole. The World Health Organization, the UN, have said last resort. We don't want to do this. The economic strain is too much. It should be a last resort. They're not saying don't do it at all. They're just saying only in extreme circumstances. I'm not convinced we're facing extreme circumstances just yet. It makes no sense to destroy the lives of so many people based on where we are right now. And more importantly, look, This next bit's a matter of opinion. But the mortality rate for, like, if you're under 70, you have a 99.9% chance of surviving and being fine. And I know there are lingering health effects and all that stuff. Excuse me. But I'm not convinced that we should be destroying everything just so we can maybe prevent something. Listen, the sad reality of life is that we can't control natural disasters. Could you imagine if they were like, a hurricane is coming, quick, everybody shut down your businesses for the next 3 months? The reason why we shutter the stores, we lock everything down for a few days just before and just after a hurricane is because it's a short-term problem, but it's an extreme likelihood of destruction, damage, and death. With COVID, we have a likelihood of infection, and certain people get lingering health effects, but the survival rate is extremely high. It's crazy to me that we would say lock everything down for an extended period for months, almost a year, over what is admittedly a problem, but in my opinion, not apocalyptic. You know, if a natural disaster is going to occur, what do? Destroy everything out of fear of a natural disaster? You can't do that. Otherwise, should we lock everyone down out of the fear that maybe it's soon the San Andreas fault is going to give and then the big one's going to hit California and knock down all these buildings? No, we take precautions for it, but we try and live to the best of our abilities. I'll tell you what's really crazy to me. Watching these war-torn, like these videos from these war-torn countries where there's like shooting going on and people are living their lives. They're going to the store, they're buying stuff. Imagine if they were like, lock all the businesses down, lock everything down because there's war going on. That would actually make sense to me, but people still have to survive. What's happening now? Small businesses are destroyed. But you know who's not? Amazon, Walmart, Target. These big box stores are going to get all the money. And then I hear from my friends, yes, but we need a stimulus package. A stimulus package would do the same thing. It would accelerate the transfer of wealth from poor people to the ultra wealthy. Think about it. The government prints a ton of money, gives it to people who then spend it all on Amazon and Walmart, who then takes those profits. What happens then when you inflate the money supply? When you dump money into the supply, it inflates the currency. It devalues it. There's too much. What ends up then happening is you give a large proportion of that to major, box stores and companies like Amazon. And then all of a sudden they have a disproportionate amount of the money that they can use to then dictate how things are done. It's clever. And I'm sure the ultra wealthy are loving it. And I'm sure the Democrats don't care because they're rich too. And they've probably got stock in Amazon and other companies, and they're going to do just fine. Now, regular people have stock too. So maybe many of these people are going to rush to go buy Amazon and Walmart, or I think Walmart, I don't know if Walmart is public, but Amazon is publicly owned. So you can buy shares. And then what? All of the smaller businesses see their stock value plummet and collapse. The ones that actually are listed are public. And the big, massive change, we are consolidating power. And it's a mistake. Well, here's what's happening across the country. They say toilet paper, disinfectant, and groceries are once again flying off the shelves across the U.S., with states forced to impose stricter lockdowns and the number of new COVID cases spiking to 166,000 on Monday. Pictures taken in recent days show stores in Washington, California, Virginia, Indiana, Ohio, New Jersey, New York, all these places affected by the rush. It is the second time this year that shoppers appear to be panic buying. Stores were left scrambling to restock shelves wiped out in response to COVID-19 back in March. But experts say the run is likely to be less severe this time as stores and shoppers are more prepared. Subodha Kumar, a supply chain expert at Temple University, told the Daily Beast, people have already hoarded a lot of this stuff in their basements. Oh, yeah. I still got some. Actually, no, I think we ate all our beans from earlier in the year, truth be told. A new flurry of lockdown measures came as 40 states reported record daily increases. Several governors from New Jersey and California, Iowa, Ohio, and acted on Monday to restrict gatherings ahead of Thanksgiving and boost face coverings in confronting a coronavirus surge they warned is out of control. How? We've been wearing masks. We've been locked down. Is this stuff not working? Oh, is anyone going to question anything? I run the risk of getting banned for simply doing this video. I say it every time, but it is a fact. So what do? Do we just lay down and say, well, that's it? But people will die, Tim. I know, man. It's horrifying. What do? Do we just give up? That makes no sense. We can't. We can't just sit around and say, let everything just fall apart. Let everyone suffer and be locked in their homes. We need to protect the vulnerable, and we need to reopen our economy. It's the only thing that makes sense. But you know what? I have to question what the real goals are here. I mean, take a look at this. Stores are all completely being, wiped out. But these pictures, these are big box stores. What are these? Target stores? Walmarts? Yeah, that's who's succeeding. There was a video out of New Jersey where a woman was selling things on Facebook Live. Her store wasn't open. It was closed. She went on Facebook and started filming the things she had. And she said you could buy it online and she'd mail it to you. And the police showed up and said, shut it down. And she said, why? I'm not open. I'm just posting videos online. Don't care. Shut it down. Who are these disgusting cops who would come and be like, how dare you film things and put them on the internet? I don't know, man. Morons. People who have no loyalty to the U.S. or the Constitution. That's what they did. They went out and they told the woman she couldn't sell things on Facebook. Amazing. I have to wonder why. Well, I've brought it up. Tucker Carlson brings it up. Many people bring it up. The Great Reset. It's not a conspiracy theory. They've said they're going to do this. So when I see a story about a woman who is selling things online and the cops shut her down, is this for the Great Reset? It's the only thing that actually makes sense in terms of what their plans are. Tucker Carlson, the elites want COVID-19 lockdowns to usher in a Great Reset, and that should terrify you. The most intimate details of our lives are being controlled by our leadership class. What have we seen? In this video, in an article from the World Economic Forum, again, not conspiracies, literally on their website, they say predictions for the year 2030. One of them is Western values have been tested to their breaking point. Another is you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Okay, well, I can own nothing and be happy. I'm fairly minimalist in many respects, and I've been homeless before, so sure, I certainly think people could. But I have to wonder what their true intent is when it comes to COVID. They've said on their website that the COVID-19 crisis is an opportunity to usher in the Great Reset. Not a conspiracy, not making this up, literally on the World Economic Forum website. When they say that, and then you see these Democratic governors say, lock everything down. Even we're dealing with a virus with a 99.9% survival rate for most people, for people under 70. Those over 70, it's 97%. Is that why we lock everything down? They say it, they do it. And what's the result versus, well, listen, we locked down initially 15 days to slow the spread. Did it? I guess not. I don't know. Maybe it did. To be fair, there's no metric by which to compare it other than countries like Sweden, which seemed to do just fine earlier this year. Now, Sweden is starting to lock down certain things and their cases are going up. But I'll tell you this, there's no correlation then between lockdowns or not, because earlier this year, Sweden was fine and they didn't lock down. There have been many states that didn't lock down. Also, were fine. No major spikes. I don't think the lockdown is correlating with preventing the spread of this virus in any way. I could be wrong, but I'm looking at the charts. It doesn't make sense. Sweden had limited spike and then later now they're seeing a huge spike, but they didn't lock. Okay, well, that doesn't correlate with these other countries. I'll tell you what is happening, though. Seems like the Democrats, the elites are exploiting this, and it's causing a massive transfer of wealth to the multinational billion-dollar corporations. If that's what you want, so be it, because I tell you this, upward mobility is being destroyed. It's harder and harder to become successful, to break the barrier and become wealthy. But smart people can figure it out. It's just, they're making it more and more difficult. The left likes to talk about how the American dream has been destroyed, and it's like, it no longer exists or whatever. And it's like, well, these are your policies. These are Democratic governors doing this, destroying the small businesses of those trying to find the American dream. Tucker Carlson calls it out. It's the Great Reset, he says. He writes, or speaks, America is locking down again. In some places, that's already happening. If you have kids, you've seen it. Joe Biden has promised more of it, more masks, more quarantines, more limits on travel, more restrictions on who you can eat with and who you can touch. The most intimate details of our lives are being completely controlled by our leadership. leadership class. The people who used to scream at politicians, "Keep your hands off my body," aren't saying a thing about this. In fact, they're encouraging it. So the question is, what exactly is this about? It's not about science. If masks and lockdowns prevented spikes in coronavirus infections, we wouldn't be seeing spikes in coronavirus infections after 9 months. But we are seeing them. So clearly, the geniuses got it wrong once again. This time, they're not even bothering to point to legitimate scientific studies to support continuing their policies because there aren't any studies that support that. So what is going on? Catholic Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, is that how you pronounce it? Vigano, has some idea. Vigano is one of the truth tellers in his church. He made himself deeply unpopular with many in the hierarchy several years ago by exposing their complicity in decades of abuse. Vigano is 79 years old, and the way that older people stop caring what others think, he really doesn't care. So instead, he says what he thinks is true. A few weeks ago, he wrote a letter to President Trump assessing the lockdowns from a perspective you almost never hear in this country. Quote, "No one up until last February would ever have thought that in all our cities, citizens would be arrested simply for wanting to walk down the street, to breathe, to want to keep their businesses open, to want to go to church on Sunday. Yet now it is happening all over the world. The fundamental rights of citizens and believers are being denied in the name of a health emergency that is revealing itself more and more fully as instrumental to the establishment of an inhuman, faceless tyranny." There's a reason you may not have heard those words before. The usual foot soldiers for conformity in our news media did their best to suppress and discredit Vigano's letter to the president. Yahoo News tried to tie the elderly clergyman somehow to QAnon, which to them made sense. He alleged that a global health emergency was being used by the people in power for ends that had nothing to do with the virus itself. And of course, that's crazy talk. That's the media's position on that. The only problem is that what Vigano wrote is actually true. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is factually accurate. Here's Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau speaking to the United Nations in September. He said, "This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change." Quote, "This is our chance," says Justin Trudeau, "not our chance to save you from a virus with a 99% survival rate. This is our chance to impose unprecedented social controls on the population in order to bypass democracy and change everything to conform with their weird academic theories that have never been tested in the real world and, by the way, don't actually make sense. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. Keep in mind, that's not from QAnon. That is a head of state talking, he's not alone. Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, has written a book called COVID-19, The Great Reset. The book isn't actually about science or medicine. Instead, it describes what changes will be needed to create a more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable world going forward. What changes is Schwab talking about? We don't know. What we're certain of is that you're going to pay for them and the people in charge will benefit from them. What's telling is how different this is from the way our leaders were talking back when the pandemic began. Statewide coronavirus lockdowns in this country started about 8 months ago in mid-March. At the time, California Governor Gavin Newsom predicted that 56% of his state's population would become infected with the virus within 8 weeks. Businesses would need to shut down, but he also promised it would all be over soon. It would all be over soon. This is not a permanent state. It was a moment in time. That should have made us nervous because in the end, that moment continued indefinitely. Pretty soon, Gavin Newsom was telling us who we were allowed to be around and who we were allowed to talk to. In July, he said, "As always, I want to remind you, limit your mixing with people outside of your household. It's just common sense." But the data suggests not everyone is practicing common sense. What we have learned from the data since then, as of November 5th, about 2.6% of the total population of California has been infected. That's roughly 20 million fewer people than Gavin Newsom predicted to be infected by May. So in some ways, that looks like a victory. Can we declare victory? No, just the opposite. Monday, Newsom announced that more lockdowns are underway. Right now, 41 counties in our biggest state are under the most restrictive form of lockdown. Churches, gyms, and restaurants cannot conduct any kind of indoor operations. He goes on to talk about Newsom, but I think we get the point. He goes on to talk about Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and many other jurisdictions. He says, "What does the Great Reset look like? This is what it looks like. The people in charge doing whatever they want because they're in charge. There will be no live music in the Great Reset. Choirs will be illegal unless they are singing the praise of Kamala Harris. Christmas will be banned. Sorry, put on your mask and spend the holidays alone. Good luck. So how long can this all continue? This weird and yet weirdly recognizable combination of hypocrisy and authoritarianism. Well, it's hard to imagine it could go on forever. In his letter last month to the president, Vigano wrote this, and it's worth hearing. This great reset is designed to fail because those who planned it do not understand that there are still people ready to take to the streets to defend their rights, to protect their loved ones, to give a future to their children and their grandchildren. Let's hope that's true. And they say this is adapted from Tucker Carlson's opening monologue. You see, I was trying to do a little bit of a Tucker impersonation there. I don't think I nailed it, though. But there was a really funny video where the left was making fun of Benny Johnson. He's a conservative because he talked too much like Tucker Carlson. I'm like, so what? Who cares? Anyway, I'll tell you what I care about. This great reset. You know, let me be real with all of you. I've long thought about the problems facing this planet. It is impossible that humanity can just keep growing endlessly. It's impossible. I mean, just do the math. We know for a fact there was we hunt deer for a reason. When there's too many, they eat too much vegetation, they suffer, they get diseases. We released wolves back into the wild I think like around the northwestern United States. And this started to control population of deer and other animals. And then all of this life started to flourish again because it restored balance to the ecosystem. Humans can't just expect that we're outside of all of this. And if we grow rapidly, I worry that we'll end up like, yeast, essentially, just consuming the sugars and growing and expanding until they toxify their environment and then get baked into oblivion. I don't know if anyone's going to bake us or anything like that, but we certainly just can't grow endlessly outside of balance with the ecosystem or nature, save technological development. And that's why I'm not an authoritarian, because although I'm very concerned about these things, ultimately, I think the planet's going to be fine. I mean, if humans wipe themselves out, for the most part, humanity will still survive. Even our greatest natural disasters, the man-made ones, would still result in humans surviving. Maybe these global World Economic Forum individuals and Democrats think they're the noble, smart individuals. They know better than you. And so they must implement this great reset and this lockdown to save us. Maybe. I mean, maybe it's true. I don't think people are inherently they're evil people in this world. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people just think they're the good guys and they're well-intentioned. Maybe they're not, or maybe they are, or maybe they're just not that smart. And therein lies the bigger problem. I don't see them enacting these things to save the world. I think I see them doing it and flaunting the rules to gain power for themselves. Newsom goes out and parties. Nancy Pelosi wants to have a big Thanksgiving party. These people want to go out and flaunt the rules. Nancy Pelosi goes out. Look, you can actually see a little bit in the screen right here. It's art from George Alexopoulos of Nancy Pelosi when she was caught getting her hair done in violation of COVID lockdowns. These people don't actually care about the restrictions. They will flaunt them. They want the power, and they want the power over you. If the goal was really to save the planet, they would foster a community encouraging people to do cool things. Greta Thunberg is not that. She is abrasive and mean. She's not being championed or cherished in the right way. She's berating and insulting people and mocking them and ignoring what's going on in China in terms of their pollution. There are ways to do cool things, to rally America to do better. It's just not happening because they don't want it to. They want power. And that's why I think they're so eager to just lock everything down. COVID's a great opportunity to exploit the system to empower themselves. By destroying the lower class, the middle class, they take away your political voice. Think about it this way. Maximum political donation is about $2,800 right now. It changes with inflation, right? It goes up every year, something like that. A poor person, a middle class person, how much can you really afford to give your favorite politician? $10? $20? Some middle class people might dish out $100. Some people might save up and say $2,800. But man, are you kidding? $2,800? That's nuts. Someone being able to give $2,800 to a politician is somebody who has means, not your average person. And now here's what gets crazier. A rich person can give all of their favorite politicians $2,800. Spread it out. You got a limit. So what? So these rich people give every progressive Democrat, every Democrat all this money. Poor people can't do that. So ultimately, the more they squeeze out the lower class and shuffle that money to the upper class, the more power the upper class has. And the wealth gap is getting bigger and bigger. And this is making it worse. It is not the solution to our problems. At least I don't think so. I don't think they've proven that. And I think it's just causing death, suffering, depression, and it's transferring wealth from the poor people to the wealthy people. You know what? I don't know how you solve that problem. I really don't, because they're just going to keep doing it. And the lawsuits don't seem to matter. And 79 million people now voted for it. No joke. They're arguing for their own destruction. I'll leave it there. I hope you are all prepared for the coming lockdown, because Biden says it's going to be a dark winter. His advisor says 6-week lockdown. Fauci said we won't see normality until Q2 or 3 of 2021. Hope your business can survive. I'll see you on the next segment coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. It is a different channel. It's my main channel. Check it out, and I will see you all then.